Man, I was nappy and happy in that intro, but you know what? Still happy, no longer nappy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's your boys, Will and Woody, with another episodic episode of the Side to Side Sportscast. We want to shout out our main man, Stag, who makes it all possible, and our boy CJ, who's watching the New York Yankees take on the Boston Red Sox. He's a Red Sox fan, and obviously his hopes and dreams are wrapped up in the red and white right now. But
do they play tonight?
Yeah, it's winner is in the playoffs, so it's the elimination game, right? But we're about to break it on down from all sides, like we do. We come to you to break it on down from the court side, the ring side, the sidelines, and for them sports they play outdoors, we outside. It's the side to side sportscast. That's how we ride. And we're going to cover the sidelines today because we are through the first quarter of the NFL season. We are 4 weeks into the season. The picture of what this season is going to develop into is starting to become more clear. You know, we all have our week one highs, and then week two, sometimes it rides off of week one. But now you're really starting to see what's going on as teams adjust. So, Woody, what would you say are some of the surprising things, whether it be a good surprise or a disappointing surprise? What are some of the biggest surprises of the first quarter of the season so far in the NFL?
I might end up talking about this team a lot. I don't know, but we're gonna start right now. We gotta show some love for a team that no one thought was gonna be 3-0. Their first 3-0 start in 6 years. I'm gonna start talking about them boys in North Kakalaki. I'm talking about the Carolina Panthers, baby. Sam Darnold. If you're watching this, I never lost faith. The Jets just disrespected you. All you needed was a weapon. You know, that's all you needed. A weapon, a line, and we failed you. I apologize, Sam Darnold. I apologize. But here you are. It doesn't even matter. Leave us in the dust. Let us be 1-3. Let us be garbage. Let us have Zach Wilson throwing 8 picks in 3 games. Let us continue to rot and burn in that dumpster fire while you soar and fly high. 3-0. You did lose to them boys. I know Will's over there beaming, ending that undefeated streak. But Sam, you're still killing it. You lead all NFL QBs in rushing TDs this year. You're playing great. You're doing great. This Panthers defense, I don't think we knew that they would be playing at the level that they have been playing at. I think all around, between the low expectations for Sam, or the question marks at Sam, and the low expectations that we had for the defensive end, I mean, J.C. Horn was a big, big loss. And C.J. Henderson didn't really, fill those shoes. But they started this season with a bang, and they're letting people know that they're going to be competitive. Even without McCaffrey, they were competitive. So I would have to say they're probably my biggest surprise of the year, the quarter.
Well, I mean, I'll give some love to the Carolina Panthers, and maybe it's not my surprise for Q1, but they are definitely exceeding my expectations, and I am surprised that the Dallas Cowboys smacked them like that because, listen, their defense, they were giving up 10 points a game before they played the Cowboys, and the Cowboys scored 36. They were only giving up 191 passing yards per game. And Dallas, that was along the lines where Dallas passed for. So, good job. But here's the thing. They were only giving up 45 rushing yards a game. And the Cowboys put up a deuce plus on them in the rushing game. The Carolina Panthers, who are you? Because you didn't play the Jets. You didn't play the Saints. You didn't play the Texans. You played a team that has playoff aspirations, and you got destroyed. The score looks a lot better than it was. But Sam Darnold, threw 2 interceptions to my boy Trayvon Diggs. I really didn't expect the Cowboys to be up 36-14. The Panthers made it look a little bit more respectable, but like in the third quarter, going into halftime, the game was close. That's what I expected. In the third quarter, the Cowboys just came out and turned into a brand. I didn't even know as a Cowboys fan.
The Panthers were up at halftime, right? The Panthers were up at halftime.
The Panthers were up. Yeah, the Panthers were up 7-6. And the next thing you know, it was 36-14 going into the fourth quarter. Like the Cowboys just turned it on in the third quarter. I mean, Micah Parsons was getting after Sam Darnold. And that was a good game for the Cowboys, right? But, it's a week-by-week thing. You never hear me get too high on the Cowboys in the first quarter of the season, right? I got to see this consistency thing play out. But I will tell you one of my biggest surprises in the first quarter of this season. And one of my biggest surprises is the absentee Indianapolis Colts. Yes, they just beat the Miami Dolphins. So they got their first win of the season, right? But the Colts do not look like a good football team at all. The Dolphins are really struggling. I mean, the Dolphins don't look like the team they were last year. I could actually say that's a equal surprise. The Dolphins, yes, they don't have Tua, but, you signed Jacoby Brissett so you can have one of the more, prominent backup quarterbacks in the league. Jacoby can't pass 5 yards. He can't pass past 5 yards. Like, what is going on with Jacoby? That's disrespectful to the name Kobe. We just gonna have to call him Ja Brissett. Like, because
that's disrespectful to the name Ja.
Ja Morant? Yeah, Ja Morant. Yeah. I'm glad you wasn't talking about Ja Rule, because Ja Rule used to get trashed, right? By 50 Cent and whoever, right?
Right now he's Obi Brissett. That's what he is, Obi
Brissett. I actually like that, man. We might have to roll with that. Obi Brissett, man, until you start putting some respect on Kobe's name. Like, because you're really not playing well. And the Colts got to win just because you're playing quarterback. You can't, the Dolphins cannot move the ball. And Carson Wentz, he's not the air it out quarterback. So I'm a little surprised. And the Colts defense hasn't really been as prominent as expected before the season. So I would say that that's one of my those two teams are one of my disappointing surprises. But I got a pleasant surprise for you, right? Pleasant surprise. This team right here is the last remaining undefeated team in the NFL, right? And they make their way out of the NFC Wild Wild West, right? Now, I'm no fan of this team, but I'm a fan of this town. And I got to give it to the Arizona Cardinals, right? Listen, the Cardinals were, before the season, maybe the fourth ranked team in that division. Many had the Rams running away with the division. Many had the 49ers making a comeback because they're healthy now. The Seahawks are always competitive, and the Cardinals usually struggle against those teams when they're at their best. But Kyler Murray is having an MVP type season right now. Kyler is getting it done. And the Cardinals made a statement when they waxed the LA Rams this past week. That was another surprise. I picked the Rams to win that game. I did think it was going to be a close division game. The game was in LA, but the Cardinals stomped the LA Rams. I mean, literally dominated them from beginning to end. So that is a pleasant surprise to me, because the Cardinals actually look like a really good football team. I mean, they may be one of the teams to beat in the NFC. I've been on record saying before that the only problem with Kyler Murray is he takes too many hits, and at the end of the season, that fatigue begins to get him. He's not the same quarterback. He's not able to go downfield. He's holding the ball too long. He's sore, but he's not taking hits this time. This boy is running. He's getting out of bounds. He's been watching his Russell Wilson tape. And Kyler is dangerous, man. Kyler Murray is dangerous right now. He's playing some of the most dangerous quarterback in the NFL. So pleasant surprise for me, definitely Kyler Murray.
I've been telling you about him. There's no surprise over here for that because I've been telling you about him. I'm telling you, they got better on both sides, adding free agents on both sides. It was only a matter of time before they erupted. Now that Kyler is finally healthy, they are erupting. I do agree, though, right? Health is important. So, taking less hits. He's been staying in the pocket a little bit longer. I still think he was sliding last year. I guess not sliding enough. But I'm definitely no surprise over there. I was surprised though to see how bad they smacked the Rams. That was definitely a shock because you already know the Rams. That's where they're going, off the screen pretty much. I just want to give a special shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. Go ahead. Special shout out to the Raiders.
I mean, was anyone expecting them to, be where they're at? 3-1. Some great, gritty wins. Some overtime wins. They beat the Ravens like twice in the same night. They've been a tough team to beat, and Derek Carr. I'm not sure if he still is after last night, but heading into week 4 was leading the league in passing yards. I mean, this team has been real exciting to watch. And I know the Broncos technically have the same record, but they literally face the 3 worst teams in the NFL. So I cannot put them. I mean, I know obviously, right? Like, they don't make the schedule, but their 3 wins do not mean the same to me as the Raiders. And let me throw out the Chargers. You know what? That entire division is a complete surprise to me.
Because I was about to ask you, are you more surprised in the Raiders 3-1 start or the Chargers 3-1 start? I'm more surprised in the Chargers 3-1 start, and I'll tell you why.
What?
Well, I'll tell you why. Week 1, they barely beat the Washington football team. But again, it's a week-to-week thing. Week 2, they lost to the Dallas Cowboys, right? But then the next week, when they had to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs, that was a game that not many expected them to win. And they hung in there with the Chiefs, and they beat the Chiefs. So this game against the Raiders are undefeated. And the Raiders have, if you look at their head-to-head matchups, the Raiders have beat them in close games consistently. Over like the last handful of games that they played, it's like the Raiders always come out with the win. But the Chargers really dominated the Raiders. Like the Raiders didn't even look like they belonged on the field with them. That pass rush was getting after Derek Carr. So, like the Chargers, if you just take the first quarter of the season, they might right now, they look like the best team or the most dangerous team in the AFC, right? So that's why I'm surprised because, I figured they would be a good team. Last year, they ended the season, with getting a few wins, even though they didn't nearly get enough wins to get into the playoffs, but they were building something. They got a new coaching staff. They come in and they're really doing a good job this year early on. So, I mean, I believe next week, they're 3-1 in the division, and the next team they play is home against the 3-1 Cleveland Browns. If they win this game, because the Browns are a tough team. If they win this game too, man, who are you going to pick in the AFC West? You kind of want to believe that the Chiefs are going to come back, right? I said that they're not going to lose more than 4 games. I'm still on record saying it.
Yes.
But look, the Chargers, man, you got to take them a little bit serious. So that definitely comes as a surprise to me.
I was taking them serious. I think one thing that kind of went under the radar that I definitely noticed was how well they rebuilt their offensive line in the offseason. No one really paid too much mind to the Corey Linsley, acquisition. Jets fans did because we were dying for interior line help. What did you say?
The draft pick of Rashawn Slater.
Oh, yeah, well, that was my second point. That was, yeah. So Well, I guess I only got the one right now, but yes,
you got it. The floor is yours.
Definitely. Like, the key moves that they made to the O-line and the coaching change, like you said, I feel like, Herbert was just ready to take the reins, man. He was going to have, extra time, and he's mobile enough that when the pocket does break down, he can find a way out. He's good throwing on the run. I feel like rebuilding that line, his pocket presence, and that arm with the, I mean, I was seeing it. Like, honestly, the Raiders, and that's why I'll go back to the Raiders being my surprise, because the Raiders lost linemen, right? They were like one of the only teams in the league to lose 3 linemen in the offseason, and Derek Carr isn't that mobile, for when the pocket breaks down. So I was not high in them at all. Honestly, if you had, gun to my head, who's finishing last in this division at the beginning of the year, I was going to say the Raiders, even lower than the Broncos. I was going to say the Raiders, and now here they are 3-1, playing competitive. I feel like they play every Monday night. I don't know who made the schedule, but they playing competitive football every week.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, I figured the last 2 teams would be the Broncos and the Raiders, but I would figure the Broncos will be last. I'm not giving the Broncos any credit because the Broncos played some real JV.
You don't have to say it. You don't have to. I already said it. You don't have. You don't have to say it. I don't want to hear you say it. I don't want to hear you say it.
No, I'm not going to say it. In fact, I am going to say this. Another surprise is, let's talk about the Empire State getting 2 victories this weekend. Let's talk about that. It looked like all was falling down. I can see the Statue of Liberty falling down into the water. I don't know what it is, but every time you see a movie where the Statue of Liberty gets knocked down into the water, it is like, oh my God, it makes it really feel like a crisis has taken over the world, right? And the Jets and the Giants have been playing such booty football that it reminded me of that scene that you see in a lot of movies. But the Giants went on the road and got a victory against the Aints. And the Jets played some good football. You know what? As a football fan, I'm happy to see that because they went 2 weeks in a row not scoring a touchdown. Everything was looking bad. You got the Tennessee Titans coming into New York. They're going to be running hard with Derrick Henry, and Tannehill can get into a groove. And it's the Titans versus the Jets. What are the Jets' chances of winning?
I don't want to. I just have to say it. I have to say it before we get on a roll, and all of my fellow Gang Green members, hear you and get too excited. But they didn't have AJ Brown. They didn't have Julio Jones.
Look. Let me tell you something, man. You can't make excuses, right? I'm not saying the Jets going to turn their season around. Right, you play who's on the schedule with who can come on the field. This is the NFL. Teams get hurt. You got to have the next man up mentality, right? Like in the NFL, it is what it is. Any team can be at that disadvantage, right? So the Jets, as bad as they were, you would still think the Titans would be able to beat them without AJ Brown and Julio, right? I mean, look at it. It's not like the Jets couldn't score touchdowns. It's not like the Titans couldn't score touchdowns. The Titans were scoring. The final score to that game, I believe it was 27-24, right? The Jets scored 27 points. That's what the focus on. There were some times that Zach was looking real comfortable, going downfield. And we had a Tevin Coleman sighting. Ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't pick him up in fantasy because
pick up Michael Carter if he's available.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, but running the ball, they were mixing it up. They were running by committee. And let's talk about the Quentin Williams and Quentin Williams brothers, right? Quentin Williams on defense, man, he was playing sideline to sideline. He wasn't scared of Derrick Henry. And I really feel like that energy really sparked the Jets. So they got a victory, man. A victory goes a long way in the NFL.
I literally tried in the third quarter. I tried to actually get a Quincy Williams jersey but it obviously was not on NFL.com, so I had to make a custom one and just put 56 and Williams.
Dang, you're a real
Quincy, you
fan,
my
man.
boy, man. He deserves the game ball.
Game.
Yeah. Dang. He deserves that game ball. I actually saw afterwards they gave the game ball to Corey Davis, and that's a shame. I mean, the boy, he's the reason why Zach threw that first pick. I know he did have a really nice touchdown, but that was again Zach Wilson, his brilliance, hit him with it. Yeah, Quincy Williams is a reason why that defense was sparked up. He was making big play after big play. Little bro Quentin Williams also getting sacks. The first two brothers in the modern era of the NFL to get a sack in the same game.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I mean,
that would be dope. So now since we're in that division, kind of talking about the Jets, let's transition to another surprise. Let's talk about this Brady Belichick matchup, right? Because to me, this game was a surprise.
It was.
The Patriots are, they're pretty down. They're young. They're rebuilding, right? But that Bill Belichick wanted to win this game more than any game in his career, Super Bowls included. Because what happened when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, right? Tom Brady went and won a Super Bowl. So the narrative all of a sudden changed to, oh, well, Bill, it wasn't you. You're just only good because of Tom Brady. But Bill Belichick is like, man, I birthed this kid, man. I raised this kid. This kid was a 6th-round, goofy-looking noodle out of Michigan who didn't know how to play football. I sat him down for the right amount of time. I had the easiest offense around him. I always made sure he had an offensive line. I tucked him in at night, okay? I got him Wes Welker so he could just make checkdowns look like the best thing to do, right? And I made Tom Brady. I went 10-6 with Matt Castle. And you telling me? I felt like Bill Belichick was about to be Alonzo Harris off training day, right? Like that was probably his locker room speech. You telling me that I'm not good? He carried me? No. So what did Bill Belichick do? Bill Belichick took away everything Tom Brady likes to do. Tom Brady likes to pass to the middle of the field. Tom Brady likes to hit his underneath receivers. Tom Brady likes to pass to the running backs out of the backfield. Tom Brady doesn't necessarily consistently throw outside the numbers. He can. I'm not saying he can't. He can. But if you make him do that all game, he's not going to be the same Tom Brady with the same high efficiency. So Bill Belichick, mastermind, that defense was playing, man. They had to keep kicking field goals. And Mac Jones, let's talk about young Mac Jones, right? 31 out of 40. Mac Jones was playing the young Tom Brady brand of football, right? Take was there, run after the catch. Take was there, run after the catch. And, Bill Belichick was proving the point. I'm making me another Tom Brady, man. And that was the only time that I ever rooted for the New England Patriots. I wanted to see them win the game. I'm actually surprised that they lost. 4th and 3, Bill Belichick, right? Bill Belichick his resume. Bill he's one of the most aggressive coaches in the history of coaching. A 4th and 3, he's going for it, especially in a late game situation. But I really feel like he didn't want to put the pressure on Mac Jones. Matt at 3rd and 3, Matt Jones threw a pass that got batted down. I don't think he wanted to put that pressure on Mac and something happened and the game turnover on downs and they lose. So he rushed to the field goal, 56-yard field goal, missed it, and you can just see that Bill Belichick was seething, right? But, who's better long run? I still think you're talking about the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time. I don't know how much longer Bill's going to coach, but if Bill wanted to really hang in there and build up Mac Jones, I think Mac Jones could become a great quarterback and what he puts around him. But I don't know how much longer he's going to coach. And then you got to say, I don't know how much longer Brady's going to play.
Well, Honestly, both of them could just play for the next decade. Who knows? Or do their jobs in the next decade. Nick Folk, he was on quite the streak. I don't know the exact number, but he was on a double-digit streak of made field goals, including earlier that game. I know with the weather, and I think that's probably what we're all going to blame it on is the weather. Kind of messed up that last 56-yarder, but I don't blame Bill for making that move. I think for all those scales that were tipped in favor of the GOAT TB12, I think you had to look at what happened, that night and see like Bill Belichick is like he's nobody's fool. Like he is the greatest coach of all time. He is a mastermind. Tom Brady comes back. He can't even throw a TD. You come back to Gillette, all this fanfare. Posted 5 videos on Instagram, all this fanfare. Welcome back. Your parents are in the stands. Throw them a TD, Tom. You can't. You can't because Belichick knows you better than you know yourself. He, is the ultimate chess player, and we saw it. We saw it there. But Bill can't, suit up and throw those passes to Edelman. He might be the best, chess player of them all, mastermind of them all, strategist of them all. But Tom obviously also did his part, brought his winning mentality to Tampa Bay, and in 1 year, which is almost like unprecedented, brought this, team that had not made the playoffs in over like a decade and brought them to the Super Bowl, won it. So I have to wholeheartedly agree, and I know that stings for sports shows, right? We need to argue. We need to be Skip and Shannon. But I'm going to wholeheartedly agree. When we talk about Brady versus Belichick, we're talking about the greatest QB of all time and the greatest coach of all time. They did it together.
Amen.
They did it together.
Yeah, it would be an absolute tragedy, and it would be disrespectful to sports fans all across the world to just create some argument out of this topic, right? Brady is the GOAT. You can't argue with it. He's 44 years old, still balling, right? Like other quarterbacks looking old. Like I remember when Romo was in his 40s. I was like, ooh, Tony Romo's getting old, man. Look at Ben Roethlisberger right now. Like, Ben looks old, man.
And he's the last QB of that draft class. Like Rivers already gone, Eli's already gone.
Everybody's gone. And he's still in there. He looked like he should have been gone, right? And Tom is just like, well, I don't know. I kind of feel like I could play till I'm 50. And like you can't doubt it, man. The man is like, granted, he went against, I would love to see the Bucks play the Patriots again, but I would not want to see that in the Super Bowl. So I do not want to. I want to see it in next regular season. It's not going to happen, right? It's probably. I mean, they're not going to play in the regular season for at least another 4 years, right? Unless the schedule works out to where they kind of had the same, But that's most likely they're not going to play again.
Oh yeah.
And, man, I would love to see that match again, but. Belichick is the mastermind. Now let's talk about a coach who lost his mind. Let's talk about a coach who lost his mind. Now, I'm a big you're not going to meet a fan. You're not going to meet someone who's more of a fan of Urban Meyer than myself. I mean, Herb is my guy, man. I'm a Florida Gators fan, diehard, passionate Gators fan. And like, I just love that whole thing he put together, man. During the Tim Tebow era. I mean, that was some great college football. And then when you went to Ohio State, I wasn't even mad at you, and you're just a great guy, man. You're a great leader. Like you're a great leader of men. But when you get stressed out, Herb, you leave. Because I get it. You got a growth on you. You don't want to have brain surgery. You have a growth, right? So coaching is stressful. Man, I was sweating bullets when you was talking about coaching the Cowboys. I'm like, don't bring him here. No, no. Right? I don't know this college offense is going to work in the NFL, but as soon as you start stressing it, you Cowboys football will stress you out. But you in Jacksonville, you in Florida, man, they went and got you early. And you started off 0-4. I don't know if you ever lost 4 straight games in your college coaching career, but this is the NFL, right? It's a different ball game. And the stress is hitting you so hard, man. You're a wholesome family man, and you got these little girls dancing on you. Like, you know, people got pictures nowadays. Herb, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing, man? Herb, come on, man. What are you doing? Like, you making me jump to my hear me out right now, right? But like, what are you doing? I know you stressed, man, but you taking pictures with the girl on the left and the girl on the right, and the one girl looked like your quarterback. Like, you know, but come on, man. What are you doing, Coach Urban Meyer? You know, you got players in the locker room saying that you've got no credibility. And I don't know, man. Woody, I don't know what you say, but it looks like to me, Herb has checked out. And he's like, you know what? This NFL stuff is not for me. You know, it kind of reminds me of Bobby Petrino in 2007 when he left college to coach, you know, the Falcons, and then he just hopped up out of there because he was like, nope, this ain't it. And I just don't think Herb is an NFL coach, and he doing weird stuff now because I think he's realizing that.
Anytime, obviously, that you hire a coach, you hope that that coach is going to bring in a new culture, especially a coach with the pedigree of Urban Meyer. I mean, we saw Dan Campbell on that, you know, opening press conference. You know, they bite kneecaps. You want them to change the culture. You know, I'm not even going to talk about the Jets, but, you know, that's what you want. And I am very certain that the Khans thought that they were getting a culture changer in Jacksonville with their new prized #1 overall pick, best prospect since Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway, quarterback. They thought that they were going to get the best coach to nurture that young man in Urban Meyer. But unfortunately, it does not look like the culture has changed at all. If you want to argue that it's changed, it might actually be for worse because it is actually more of a circus now than it was last year. As for what Urban, you know, was doing, you know, in that bar, I will say I'm married, and if, you know, a video like that was circular, or if I, you know, was, you know, doing things like that, she would be very upset, to say the least. Like, that's not even, you know, the seething, the Bill Belichick, you know, that would kind of be the start level. But I'm not sure if my, you know, employer would force me to apologize the way that, you know, the Khan family has come out and denounced him. There's a lot of just disorganization in the organization. The players don't respect the coach. The owners mad at the, like, there's not a unified unit. And I am going to talk about the Jets now because when they were 0-3, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Zach Wilson, they were in solidarity. We'll throw the Johnsons up in there too for the owners. They are in solidarity. You know, yeah, we're 0-3. Yeah, we haven't thrown a TD in 2 games, but in Zach we trust. Gang green. Take flight. That's not happening. That's not happening. But no, I'm saying like that, like that's not solidarity.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a whole mess. I would not be surprised if it's one and done for Urban, which is unfortunate, but I will actually give credit where credit is due. Our very own Will Gaddy, the chief swag officer, actually said this before the NFL draft. He said, with Urban Meyer And Trevor Lawrence, I'm not sure this is the best place for Trevor to go. We don't know if Urban can adjust to the NFL lifestyle, to the NFL playbook, to the NFL style. And here it is, 4 weeks in, and he's overwhelmed talking about, oh, we play in Alabama every week. It's the NFL, baby. Wake up
every week.
like wake up. Like, what do you mean? You can't seriously tell me you were this overwhelmed. Like, did you not know that you were taking over a bad franchise? Like, I don't like. So yeah,
I mean, look, in the NFL, you don't look at your schedule and see the Citadel coming up, right? Where you know that's a whole bunch of people that barely got D1 offers, and you about to just rout them. The fastest dude on their team runs a 4.8, and you about to just outspeed them, and that's college football for you, right? But the NFL is a different game. But I want to ask you this question, Woody. You said that this might be a one and done year for Herb. I kind of felt like it was, but I do have I wonder if he's going to make it through this season now with this scandal going on, the comments coming from the owner, you've got to earn everybody's trust again. It seems like something is setting up, right? He's clearly going to coach this week, but this week the Jaguars play the Tennessee Titans, right? The Jaguars play the Tennessee Titans coming off of a loss to the New York Jets. The Titans going to be angry. I mean, the Titans, their division is weak, right? This is their chance. They're 2-2 to go 3-2, and at 2 games above 500, the division might be theirs already. With you're talking about the Houston Texans, where Davis Mills is about to go up against Bill Belichick coming off of a loss, so the Texans going to lose again, right? Then you're talking about you got the Colts, who have been struggling. They just had their first win. And obviously you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, so you can just kick them while they're down, right? But this is a tough matchup, and it's very possible that the Jaguars can go 0-5. Now, after this week, they play the Miami Dolphins before their bye week, right? What do you think about this? If the Jacksonville Jaguars get routed by the Tennessee Titans on Monday, the Jaguars announced that they're moving on from Urban Meyer, or Urban Meyer resigns. Urban Meyer has a way of getting the doctors involved, and so it don't look like he just quit. It's not recommended due to his stress and evaluation that he continue to coach. That way he can keep respect and go back to the college network and be an announcer. It won't look like he just quit on his team. But then the Jaguars will probably promote Darrell Bevell to head coach, interim head coach, or one of their assistants. I think it may be him. And they may beat the Miami Dolphins and go into the bye week with some, we're feeling good now, momentum, right? Granted, they may not turn their season around, but, it's funny how those types of things work. What do you think if you think about it, what do you think are the chances that Urban Meyer makes it into and through the bye week?
That's a tremendous question. And it was kind of cool to go down that road with you real quick. I can tell you, as a pro wrestling fan, the Khans have a very short leash for public embarrassment. They're a very PC family. That's how they run their wrestling organization, All Elite Wrestling. I think they will react to the public. I don't think they will proactively say, "Hey," because here's the thing. Yes, he lost their trust, but I think even they know that it's for a continuity standpoint, it's probably best to have, your experienced coach, try to mend things out. And, they've been working on, the game plan and his system for all this time. I think, that's in their best interest, as opposed to kind of starting anew in the middle of the season and kind of messing, Trevor up so soon. We've seen, that sudden shift in systems how that kind of maimed Sam Darnold in New Jersey. But Baker, oh my, from freshman to sophomore year, I mean the same thing happened. I mean with Trevor, yeah, it may be inevitable, but I feel like to do it in the middle of the season, you're kind of setting him up to fail actually more than you are to succeed. So I would say it completely depends on the public pressure. If for some reason, and this is a real force, that Twitter police, they are pretty strong, they are pretty powerful. If that Twitter police, is saying, hey, Urban needs to go, he needs to apologize, he needs to repent, then the cons will react because they always act in accordance with the Twitter police. But if things die down, and I think this is where Urban probably benefits, that he doesn't coach the Jets or coach the Cowboys, where all the eyes are on them, these, big market organizations. I think that kind of benefits him, where this could probably, quietly die down, and then he'll be good to go through the bye week. So I would say we should expect to see him out there on those sidelines week 17. That's my personal thought.
Okay. You know what? I actually can see it like that, but I'm going to make a bold prediction. The Titans are going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to call it 34-13. And somehow, some way, Urban Meyer is going to disappear. I don't know if they're going to fire him, if he's going to step down due to health, but I just think where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's going to look like he lost the locker room, and there is going to be a massive, like if you say the cons respond to the fans, I think that there's going to be a massive outcry after they get destroyed by the Tennessee Titans, right? Now that's who they play this upcoming week. But let's go around the league, and week 5, right? We're beginning in the second quarter of the NFL season, right? And there's some interesting matchups taking place this week. Personally, I love Thursday night's football game. Tonight, you've got the LA Rams going against the Seattle Seahawks tonight. And it is going to go down. The Rams are coming off an embarrassing loss to the Cardinals, and the Seahawks get a chance after beating the 49ers, right, to give the Rams their second division loss while they get their second division win. This game usually goes toe-to-toe, and I can't wait. This is my favorite Thursday night game outside of the season opener, obviously, for biased reasons, right? This is my favorite Thursday night game on the docket until Thanksgiving. So I can't wait for this matchup. That's the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
It's hard to disagree with that being the best Thursday night. I mean, this is like it almost feels like the main event, right? And yes, that season opener from a non-Cowboys fan was a great game, great matchup. So don't feel bad that you being a homer, especially after I make my pick, because in the NFL, we are going to London. And I'm not saying this is, a preview of a Super Bowl or anything like that. Whoa. But what I am saying, I'm not. I'm saying it's not a preview of the Super Bowl. It's not. If anything, it's a battle for the third overall pick in the NFL draft. But what I am saying is that both of these teams are 1-3. They both were in, slugfest last week. All right, fighting, trying to be competitive after not being competitive multiple times this week, right? They've been bottom feeders, like literal, actual bottom feeders. And we have And we always talk about that, immovable object, right? With the unstoppable force, right? We talk about that all the time. The NFL's greatest offense against the greatest defense. Well, now we're talking about the NFL's worst offense versus the NFL's worst defense.
Wow.
So what's going to prevail? The bad offense or the bad defense? I think it will be a very, very interesting matchup. I think anyone who wakes up at 9:30 a.m. Eastern will be treated to a nice competitive showdown against two teams that are competing for the third overall pick in the NFL draft. And I think it'll be fun. There'll probably be a lot of mistakes, but I know New York and Atlanta will rise up. Their fan bases. I mean, not the teams because the teams are bad, but the fan bases will rise up. I think it's going to be a good watch for anyone who's up. Anyone who wants some tea and crumpets, I'll be there. I'll be watching 9:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Let's talk about just really fast, man. The Atlanta Falcons, ever since that Super Bowl debacle, man, when they were up 28-3 and they wound up losing that game, man, they have unraveled to where they don't even look like a bad team on paper, but on film,
on the field.
Yeah, on the field, they are horrible. They can't guard anybody. Like, come on, man. Daniel Jones just threw for 400 yards on you. It takes Daniel Jones 2.5 games to total 400 yards, right? Daniel Jones just put up 400 on you. He was looking like he back in Duke, playing against a D1 AA school. Look, Zach Wilson, man, got to be licking his chops because they don't play D in the ATL. And, but speaking of New York, I also want to say, and this is not for Homer reasons, I just want to say the Dallas Cowboys need to be careful. I mean, everything's going good right now, right? The Dallas Cowboys just released Jalen Smith, right? And it makes sense, from what they say is if Jalen gets injured in this season, no matter what, he's due $9.2 million next year. That's the way the contract was drawn up. The Dallas Cowboys have identified that they have multiple linebackers: Micah Parsons, Jabril Cox, Keanu Neal, Leighton, LVE is playing well, Vander Esch. So they don't really need Jalen Smith anymore because Jalen Smith can't really run laterally. Like when he changes direction, he's really slow. He's like an alligator. He'll tear you up going downhill, but when he got changed direction, everything is lost. So he got as much as he could out of that knee, and it's really sad. But this wasn't supposed to be about Jalen. This is about the New York Giants coming up on the schedule, and the Giants just got a spirited win against the Saints. The Giants were looking really bad. I mean, they just could not get a win, but they had some close games. Their opener against the Broncos got away from them. But if they look back on that game, they probably feel like if something went a little bit different, they could have won that game, right? The game against the Washington football team, stupidity is the reason why they lost that game, but an L is an L. You're 0-2 now, right? Then you play a terrible defense in the Atlanta Hawks, and you only scored 14 on them. You're 0-3. Everything was looking really low. But then you go into New Orleans, and you rally. Saquon Barkley running up the sidelines, saying they're not for real. They're not for real. This is our house. Rallying the team. I was looking at a spirited New York Giants. Now, this is a division game. I don't care how good any team in the division ever looks. Rarely do you see blowouts in the NFC East, right? Even if every team is bad, if every team is good, rarely do you see blowouts. I mean, it happens every now and again, but the Cowboys playing some of the best offense in the NFL. They're leading the league in takeaways, right? And you got the Giants coming up on the schedule. This is a really intriguing matchup because I just want the Dallas Cowboys to be careful. This is not a game that you can just look at and go, oh, the Cowboys are going to trash the Giants, because coming off that W, man, it does something. So you're really going to find out what both of these teams are made of, because, I mean, are the Giants going to start reversing, shit? Are they getting everything together in Q2 if they come out and get a win? if the Cowboys win, just because the Giants are 1-3, doesn't mean that it wasn't an impressive win. I mean, the Giants are absolutely going to bring it. So I do think that that is another matchup in Week 5 that I've got my focus on, and it's not just for the sake of being a Cowboys fan.
Now these division battles, there are a couple division battles this week actually that are worth keeping an eye on. As you know, we mentioned the Rams and Seahawks tonight, but the other two NFC West teams, the Niners and the Cardinals, that's also going to be a great matchup. But I just want to say something about Saquon Barkley. I'm glad that I am where I am right now because if you go into the city, Saquon's a generational talent. He's the best thing since Barry Sanders, all that. But I was in desperate need for a running back. I did not have a running back once I lost Raheem Mostert. I didn't have anyone to take his place in fantasy. So I actually made a trade. I made a trade last week, and I traded Calvin Ridley and Michael Thomas for Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
Yeah. I was actually devastated about it because I think Michael Thomas is going to be solid when he comes back. I was devastated. But I feel like Saquon, with his performance, I'll say he just dried my tears, man. Because this guy, he was running, man. He was running, and he was the reason why I won last week. So kudos to Saquon. I gotta say, I gotta ride the momentum because he actually played pretty decently in week 3, right? He's just trying to work his way back up into game speed. So, I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen this week, but I would feel confident, or I am gonna feel confident starting Saquon this week and saying, you know what, Saquon, he is back to being a top 10 fantasy running back for the foreseeable future. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
You know what? That's very interesting, because there's a lot of people who sat Saquon Barkley down because of his first few weeks. They're like, you know what? Saquon, he just may not be back from injury, right? So let's talk about start him, sit him, Great move trading for Saquon Barkley in our side-to-side sports forum. Somebody had asked all the members of the group, should I trade Saquon for Carson straight up? And the overwhelming answer was, yeah, do that now because long-term Carson is going to be the answer. But then Saquon had, 2 pretty good weeks. Like he's getting involved in the passing game. And last week was a breakout performance, right? So a lot of people are going to be starting Saquon Barkley. I'm going to tell you a running back that you need to sit ASAP because it is not working for this man. And this man actually was the heir to Saquon Barkley at Penn State. His name is Miles Sanders. And it's a shame that his first name is Miles and he's not going far this year at all, right? Because the Eagles are not running the football. This is the Jalen Hurts show. Miles Sanders is not getting work. Last week, he had 7 carries for 13 yards. The week before, he had just 3 carries. He had 10 carries in 2 weeks. I don't know what Nick Sirianni is doing, but he's not trying to run the football. He's just not trying to do it unless Jalen Hurts runs the football. So if there's a player, like it's time to abort mission. We're through the first quarter of the season, and if it ain't start happening now, it probably ain't going to start happening. You know what? And if he's on your bench and he goes off, then you still made you had to make a smart move, right? But Miles Sanders is he's trash. He's not trash. He's very talented. But on your fantasy roster, trash. Sit him.
I have someone who I started week 1 and has been on my bench since then, and I might drop him. But before I drop him, I definitely want to send some feelers out to the rest of the owners in the league to see if anyone's willing to make a deal. But it's so hard. I think this is the hardest position to make a deal in fantasy for. So I don't think it's going to happen. But definitely, and I know we literally just said 34-13. Well, really, Will said it, but I didn't disagree. Ryan Tannehill. All right. We had a guest come on here a couple months back and try to tell us that he was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Madden, the creators of Madden, you go to the ratings, probably not now, but if you had bought the game before the season, they were going to tell you that he was a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. I'm not here to tell you what place Ryan Tannehill is in, the hierarchy, but I will tell you if there's a place that he needs to be on your team, that place is the bench because he is not putting up points in any capacity. And I would say his, emergence as a viable fantasy option was, I'm not going to say completely, but was mostly predicated on his ability to run, actually. Like he would get 200 yards passing, but because he ran in for a couple scores, that's where that value, that's an extra 12 points running in for 2 scores or running for an extra 60 yards and then a score. He was finding ways to get extra 12 points, and that's why he was a viable fantasy option last year and the year before for his re-emergence. But he's not doing that. I don't think it's because he recently was without, AJ, because he had AJ and Julio those first 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on, but I can say pretty confidently he's not using his burners. I would not trust him. And he does not have the capacity, especially with these guys out. He's not throwing 400 yards. As a matter of fact, someone else who struggled under Gase and now has been freed is now almost taking the mantle of someone who's not going to throw 400 yards, but will supplement that by getting a lot of rushing touchdowns. And that man is the man I brought up at the beginning of the show, Sam Darnold. Like, he is a better play right now than Ryan Tannehill for fantasy because that man, like I said, he leads all quarterbacks in touchdown and rushing touchdowns, and he is actually averaging a little bit under 300 yards per game. So it's pretty much a step up in every capacity, but definitely, I know you guys all picked Tannehill fairly early. I know you guys did. He slipped. That's why I have him, but he's been on the bench. I don't even know if I can get anyone to trade for him.
I would never start Ryan Tannehill in fantasy football. I don't care what he did last year. I just don't believe in him, but I know he's not bad. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's a dynamic fantasy quarterback. Like he can get wins without stats. That's just the type of quarterback he is. The same reason why there was only like 2 hot seasons for Ben Roethlisberger. When they just had obviously the best offense in the league during those years. But Tannehill's like in that mode where he's not a fantasy guy. Like I that's one guy I'll pass on him all day and let people like you pick him up. But I'll tell you somebody that you should pick up on your waiver wire right now and start him because we're talking back-to-back weeks. Usually tight end is like the hard position to fill if you don't get one of the top names. By this point, in your league, people may have already picked up Dalton Schultz. But there is one guy that is consistently out there, and he is now becoming a prominent part of the offense. His name is Max Williams, okay? The Arizona Cardinals tight end. That's Max with 2 X's because my man is the X factor. Like, he's moving the chains. He's a target in the red zone, right? And the Panthers are about to play against the 49ers. And that is a guy that if you're looking for a tight end, you should start him. And I'm going to give you another name of a player that you should start because it really depends. Now, if you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, depending on your league, if you're in an auction league, right? Or if somebody was just holding out on a waiver wire and they picked up Chuba Hubbard, right? Hubbard didn't really do much last week. He had 13 carries, 57 yards. It wasn't, they don't pass to him. They put DJ Moore in the backfield and run the routes that they would typically run with Christian McCaffrey, right? Now, yeah, it's tipping off the offense, but it still works genius, right? People who watch that game may say, "Oh, I'm gonna keep Chuba on the bench, right? I'm not going to start Chuba right now." But the Panthers play the Eagles, and the only person the Eagles can stop from running is Miles Sanders, right? Because they just don't hand him the ball. But the other team runs on the Eagles all day. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got off. I was about to say Emmitt Smith. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard got off. They both look like Emmitt Smith out there, right? The Eagles have not been stopping the run. And Chuba Hubbard, breakout game. If he's on your bench because you picked him up off waivers and you had two starters, put him in that flex position, start him. Big game for Chuba this week. He's a very talented running back.
That's a great pick. I did start Chuba this past week, and he was not great. But no, you just raised some good points. I'll have to have some decision making to do before 8 o'clock, right? Because I guess that's when lineups. Well, I guess no, it actually wouldn't even matter tonight. But I got Odell on my bench. I don't know, Odell, Chuba. I got some thinking to do there. Michael Pittman is someone who's actually been very consistent. Doesn't have a high ceiling, but he has a super high floor. He's been heavily involved. I mean, he's leading that team consistently in targets. I don't know if that's going to change at T.Y. Hilton. So that's what kind of gets me nervous there. But between those three, that's who I'm looking at in terms of my flex this week. I don't think I have another stud that actually. Let me just take some time to acknowledge Hollywood Brown for his bounce back performance. Him, when you talk about value guys, like guys that you get in this round, but they're performing like you got them in this round. I mean, Cooper Kupp is clearly at the top of that list, but I think you got to pay homage to a Corey Davis, who clearly is the number one receiver on that team and will continue to produce numbers while being your wide receiver 3. And Hollywood Brown. I got Hollywood Brown in like the 11th round because no one just wanted him. And here he is. Meanwhile, in one of my other leagues, I was hyped to get Allen Robinson in the 4th round. And Jamison Crowder has more fantasy points in one game than Allen Robinson's had all season. So, kudos to those real value picks like those 3.
Allen Robinson is another sit-em. It's really not looking good for Chicago's offense right now. It doesn't look like they're going to really have a thriving offense. He's still a major piece, but that's tough. That's tough right there. But it's time to hear us out. Now, before we close the show, I personally want to speak to one of the head coaches in the NFL, right, who did something that was a bit soft to me, right? Just soft. Vic Fangio, I'm talking to you, man. Hear me out, right? Your Denver Broncos were 3-0. You came up against the Baltimore Ravens, and they bust you. They beat you. They beat you all game. The Ravens had a chance to make history. The Ravens tied the 70s Pittsburgh Steelers, and they ran the ball for 100+ yards or more for the 43rd consecutive time, right? But, Vic, you didn't like the way they did it. The game was almost over. Your team was trying to put points up on the board. Your team's down 16 points. There's 10 seconds left. You're trying to score. And again, yeah, you're trying to score till the game's over, right? But you turn the ball over on downs. And the Ravens only needed 5 yards to get 100 yards. They put Lamar Jackson back in there, ran a sweep with the quarterback. He slid after he got 5 yards. And the Ravens streak is still on. So, Vic, you come to the press conference and you say that it's bull. Beep. You know, this is a family-friendly show, so I just censored myself. I could have just said it, but like you said, it's bull, man. You said, you know what? I know that guy. They don't care about a lot of things. You know, they care about a lot of things, but player safety isn't one of them. You sound so salty, man. You sound like a sore loser, right? This team had a chance to make history, right? And I love how Harbaugh came to the podium the next day and said, hey, what's important for them isn't important for us. We knew that if we got the ball back, we were going for those yards because this streak means something to us. It's a streak that you don't have a chance to do every now and then. We're talking 43 consecutive games, and now we're going to, we're going for the record, the next game. So what's important to them isn't important to us, and we wanted it. So I had already made the decision that if we get the ball back, we're going to run the ball for another play to try to get the yards, right? I love how he stood by his decision. We get soft in sports sometimes, and we want to, you dribble the ball, you dribble the clock out. I get it. It's sportsmanship, right? But when somebody is playing for a record, Vic, you could have stopped him, man. You could have smacked Lamar Jackson into the middle of next week. You could have knocked the braids out his head. Like, you could have been like, oh, they're lining up to run a play. You could have called a timeout and you could have stopped them, not let them get them yards, right? They got the yards and you want to complain about it, man. You know what, Vic? Hear me out. You soft, man. Soft. Denver Broncos head coach, soft.
Well said. Well said. My hear me out is I think it's going to be short. Who knows? But I do want to talk to one man. It might be premature for this, but this is a segment that we do, and I gotta speak to somebody, so I'm going to choose this person because I think he has a lot of people that believe in him. A lot of people. And I am one of his strongest believers. Before he even started an NFL game, I was really looking forward to his debut. Obviously took the NFL by storm. But right now, he's looking a little bit more immortal than he has looked in years prior. And my son, I know, it's a sports show. We really just, talk about sports, but I feel like when I look at him and I say, this is someone that my son can, grow up and aspire to be. So when I see him slack off, it's almost as if my son's slacking off. I'm like, yeah, come on, let's get it together. So, Sunday night, you have a chance, Patrick Mahomes II, to put a stamp back on the league and show us that you are still immortal, that you are still a god amongst men, because right now you're looking very, very human. And I'm not saying you're looking average or that you're looking bad, but you're looking human, which you have not looked when you were dominating us in your first season with 50 TDs. We know you got hurt the next year, but every single time you were healthy, you're incredible. And I know that no-look pass that turned out into a pick, that actually should have been a catch. You literally hit him in the hands. You were not looking, you hit him in the hands. The whole team seems to kind of be in disarray. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not fumble in his whole, career. Now he's fumbling twice in back-to-back weeks. There's a lot going on. So maybe as I'm saying this, I'm realizing maybe I should direct it toward Andy Reid. But you on the field. You on the field coaching these guys, man, or inspiring these guys, right? You are the leader, Patrick. You are the man that we're all expecting to see a bust in Canton one day. But right now, it's not looking good. And unlike years past, you can't just rest on your laurels and be like, "Oh, well, the Raiders are going to be the Raiders," because right now the Raiders are 3-1. The Chargers. I mean, Will Gaddy said it here. The Chargers might be the best team in the entire AFC. And you know what? The person or the team that I would say, Will, maybe it's this team, is the team that you're facing on Sunday night. So you need to bring it and show us all that you are still that dude and outduel Josh Allen just like you did last year and show us again that you're the man. Patrick, Will Gaddy says you're not going to lose more than 2 games for the rest of the year. I want to see that happen. Just bring it, man. Just bring it.
Hey, man. Just bring it, Patty Mahomes. I still believe in you, man. You still the best quarterback that in the league. But the Chiefs may not be playing well, but you had 5 touchdowns, and you're the reason why I lost my second consecutive fantasy football game, all because of you destroying the Eagles. And so I got a little beef with you, but this is going to be a great matchup between the Chiefs and the Bills. So excellent. Hear me out, man. You got to stake your claim because you were in the Super Bowl last year. And right now, it's looking super iffy for you guys if you're going to get back. And it's all riding on you, like my man Woody says. So, shout out to my man Woody. I got to get this pointing thing down pat. We are going to wrap it up. It's been another great episode of the Side to Side Sportscast. Hey, we hope you enjoy this matchup tonight between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to bring it next week. We're going to be coming to you with more from the court side. Preseason's going on and the tip-offs are about to start happening. So we're going to talk about week 5 heading into week 6, talk about some court side. But your boys, Will and Woody, we side to side. Shout out to Stag. We out.